Hello and welcome to Landscape Photography World. I'm Grant Swinburne and I'll be your host on this show discussing the world of landscape photography. This time I'm talking to Deni Cupit about his landscape photography journey. Denny's a medical scientist from Tasmania who's consistently turning out high quality work. His landscapes around Tasmania's wilderness and urban locations are world class, and he's had work published in Australian Photography and other magazines. He's also a moderator on IG World Global and is passionate about his landscape photography. He talks about how he balances his passion with family life, and we touch on how social media is evolving the way photography is seen. I hope you enjoy the show. Hi Denny, welcome to the podcast. How are you doing?
Oh, I'm doing great, thanks, mate. Just thanks for having me on here. It's quite an honour, really.
Oh, pleasure. I don't know about an honour, but certainly something that keeps me busy while I'm not able to get out shooting. So,
well, it's a good little idea. I mean, I've listened to a few other podcasts along the way, and like from other people that have started theirs. So, I guess people in certain situations, it's a good idea just to keep things moving, keep ideas fresh, and talk to the other people in your community as well. So
yeah, absolutely. What I'm trying to do, I guess, is just get some people that whose work I really respect. You probably noticed I'm not too worried about how many followers or how many likes or whatever their stuff's getting. It's more about they do good work, and they may have interesting stories. Some of them might not, and that's okay. If they're too boring, I won't release them. So.
Yeah,
but I haven't found any like that so far.
Yeah. The whole likes and follows something that's just doesn't sit right with me. But
I'm a bit.
You see it a lot in.
I've been doing photography for a long time, way before Instagram or any of those things ever eventuated, and it just seems really weird to me. I mean, call me an old fart, but it's just seems really weird. That chasing the little endorphin hit that you get out of a like or a follow.
Well, that's it. I mean, I come from that generation, I suppose, and the reason sort of part of my photography journey started was because of Instagram, because I liked visual arts basically. So I like photos. I was not a photographer. I had an Instagram account for a good probably 4 or 5 years before being a camera, essentially. But I follow a lot of photographers, and it was that sort of inspiration that sort of got me into my photography.
Cool.
I learned a lot of things along the way. So it's been a fun ride, but because of that, I see a lot of the social side of social media and what people do, how people react to it, and like people chasing the likes. So I've seen a lot of people come and go, and I don't know, it's just something that hasn't affected me in that sort of way, and it's weird to see other people and how they deal with it, I guess.
Yeah.
We'll probably touch on that a bit later on as well. So
yeah, no worries, that's fine. So when pardon me, you're down in Tassie, so not locked down at all. So when was the last time you were out shooting?
When was it? It's been a while. Well, actually, I was out shooting. I guess for commercial reasons on the last few weekends. So I've been down at Port Arthur shooting for a distillery. And that kind of happened by chance, which was quite nice. So it's kind of started with one of Melbourne's latest lockdowns. We were supposed to go with a group of mates over to Melbourne for a footy trip. Yep. That got cancelled at the 11th hour, and the next day we had a few days off from work, so we all said, well, we still want to go somewhere, but we didn't want to spend any more money because we hadn't been refunded for any of our Melbourne accommodation. So I said down to our shack down at Port Arthur. So we've got a family shack down there.
Nice.
So we ended up going down there, and they've got Mchenry's Distillery, which is a beautiful place. Tucked away, sort of on the way in between Port Arthur and New Bena, sort of near Cape Rail.
They've jumped on the gin craze down there.
They have. They're actually primarily for whiskey, but obviously these sort of things take a few years. So they make some very, very good gin. Their butterfly gin is probably my favourite.
Nice.
And I tried a few of their whiskies that day. So we went and had a tasting, and we got talking.
That's always a good way to start a photography trip, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. We got talking to the bloke behind the bar, and they were closing up at 4 o'clock. And so the other couple that was there left, and it was just my mates and this bloke behind the bar. And he said, well, if you want to sit down for a bit, I'll make, a few more beers, a few more gins or whatever. And then he sat down with us and had a few drinks, and we got talking.
Yep.
And he said, I can take you up the hill later on and show you the view from up there. And I said, that'd be great. And it got a bit late for him. So he said, no, maybe come back tomorrow morning and I'll take you up the hill then. And so he said, oh, cool. He gave us a good discount and gave us a couple of souvenirs as well. So we all kind of walked thinking, that hospitality is really bloody nice.
Yeah.
And, had a good night with my mates and got up the next morning. We were going to walk into Shipsterns Bluff. And we're all a little bit dusty and we kind of said, should we still go to the distillery? And we said, yeah, we'd be rude if we didn't. So we rocked up and he was so happy to see us as well. So, he took us up the hill and showed us around. And he said, yeah, we've got this new sort of feature coming up for sort of an observatory.
Yeah.
And we need someone to take some photos. And my mate said, well, this bloke here takes some photos. So he said, do you? And I said, yeah, well, I can show you a couple of photos. And he said, all right, I'll take you down to meet Bill Mchenry, who owns the distillery. And I went and had a chat to him. And the night before, I'd taken a photo of all my mates on the jetty with the Milky Way in the background.
Nice. Yeah.
And yeah, it just so happened that I had that sitting on my phone. And he said, I need some shots of the observatory with, the night sky in the background. So I had the Milky Way shot on my phone. I said, oh, you mean like this? He said, that's exactly what I need. So worked out quite well. And I said, well, mate, I can come back tomorrow night and take that photo for you if you want. And it was a nice clear night, luckily. So that helped. And yeah, he was absolutely wrapped with it.
Very cool.
So, yeah, out taking a few Milky Way shots and some astrophotography for them, which was quite nice. And then went down again last Saturday as well. So yeah, it's been kind of fun.
Cool.
Yeah.
When you said you hadn't really picked up a camera until you'd had Instagram for a few years. What is the first time you sort of did it? What did you go to? What were you doing?
So, what was it? It was okay. So, well, the Instagram part of it comes afterwards. But I went on a Bucks day with my mates, and one of the guys there just had a DSLR, believe it was a Canon, and he was just snapping away all day, all night. And then about a week later, he put all the photos on Facebook, and they just looked great. And I said, mate, what did you do with your camera? And he said, nothing. I didn't do anything, mate. Like the camera just takes the photos like that. So I thought, gee, these cameras, because this was probably about 2011, 2012, and all I'd ever used was either my phone camera or a little point and shoot. And I thought, no, I've got to get one of these. It looks like a bit of fun. So that's kind of where it started.
Sure.
And at the same time, my wife was having her first child. So I thought it'd be a good excuse for me to get some nice photos of the baby as well as maybe playing with her a bit. So where was I? I think I was actually at the Botanical Garden. So she got me a Nikon D3100.
Okay, nice. Yeah.
A nice little entry-level Nikon, essentially.
Yep.
Probably the cheapest of the cheap back then. And I loved it. It served me absolutely beautifully. So, some of the best photos I've taken, I think I've taken on that camera. So
yeah, I was going to say, still takes a great shot.
Absolutely.
Regardless.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of people, carry on about, what gear did you shoot that with? What camera did you shoot that with? And it's still like, well, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah. And I'm actually quite proud to say a lot. Some of my photos are, taken with the cheapest, most entry-level camera you can get. And go out now and find a second-hand one for $150, $200, and it can take some absolute ripper photos. So,
cool.
I kind of see it as it's the person behind the camera for a lot of it. It's not always the camera. Like definitely certain levels of technology in cameras obviously help things along.
Yep.
But, it's also, a lot of it is just, who's shooting the image, I guess.
Yeah.
You go.
Go on. Keep going.
I was just going to say, so I was at the Botanical Gardens with the family, and because it was the Nikon D3100, it has like a little guide mode, so you can actually set the settings to guide mode, and it shows you what settings you want for certain photos. And I thought I always liked the silky waterfall photos, and I've never done that before. So I sort of sat it on a rock and took a photo of just some running water. All I had to do was flick it onto guide mode and essentially press the shutter button, and it did the rest of it for me.
Nice.
So I had no idea what the settings were or anything else, but this is what it did. And then the photo came out a little bit blurry, so I said, "Oh, I'll probably have to hold that a bit more steady." So did it again, and it was a nice little silky waterfall shot. It was looking now, it's absolutely terrible, but the effect that I wanted, and from then I kind of knew, right, what do I need to do to make it better? How am I going to make it better? And go from here. So that's kind of when I got more into the photographers on Instagram and looking at certain photos and certain styles and taking inspiration from there as to what I needed to do and how I needed to shoot to make those sort of photos happen for myself.
Yeah, okay. So who are the inspirational and aspirational photographers? Who's your go-to if you're looking to extend yourself a bit?
Well, it's hard to say. There's a lot. So back then, it was initially like a few Tassie photographers that were pretty prolific on Instagram at the stage. So I had Tassie Grammar, like Jason Futrell, Cam Blake, and Luke Sharkey was around then. Not so much in Tasmania, but a lot of his photos he had been around Tassie as well. So they're probably the Tassie-based ones, and then a lot of other sort of long exposure photographers. As I sort of kept getting this inspiration, it was the long exposure type photography that definitely took my interest. So that's kind of when I just started following a lot of Australian international photographers, and essentially going from there.
Nice. Yeah. So who do you go to for advice if if you're trying to work out how to do something or how somebody else did something? Who do you go to?
Myself. So I'm stubborn. I'm very bloody stubborn, and everything I've done has been self-taught. So because of that, it's taken me a long time to get to a stage where I'm really happy with the quality of my photos. But over the time, it's also been a fun journey. So 2-3 years ago, I'm looking at some of the photos I've taken and thought, I wish I knew how to do something back then, like easy little tips, like just certain focusing tips or exposures, or just like filters, that sort of thing. I learned it all along the way, just from reading or seeing other posts and people like saying what they're using, what gear they're using, and that sort of thing. So I always respected the people that put their posts up and say, ISO 100, 14 millimeters and f-stop of 8, and then a CPL has been used. It's that sort of thing. So, Googling what's a CPL and that sort of thing. It starts that simple, but it just moves from there. So essentially I figured it all out myself the long way. And, I did a lot of research online as well, looked a few things up, and, there's plenty of articles you can find. Of course, YouTube as well. Is,
definitely. That's been my go-to for some years, in particularly for post-processing. There's,
absolutely.
I'm struggling to do something that I know what I want to do, but I'm not entirely sure what the right path is to do it. And the first 3 or 4 attempts at doing it don't work, and then it's open up YouTube.
Absolutely. I still think I'm a complete spud with a lot of processing. So exactly like what you just said, when I need to figure out how to do something, then I'll jump on YouTube and figure it out. And then I'll make that certain image look good. And then I've got that in the bank for later on. It's a new sort of technique or processing technique that I've learned. So that's great. Moving on. But I only have so many little techniques that I know and can do. And I know there is a wealth of information and opportunities on, especially Photoshop, of things that you can do and how to improve an image. But I probably know, I reckon 2% of what I should. So that's the next journey as well. It's just, learning how to polish an image even more, essentially.
Yeah, it's funny. I mean, I used Photoshop for quite some time in doing other things other than photography. I was into gaming in a big way some years ago.
Oh yeah.
And used to do screenshot art.
Oh, cool.
So, you take a screenshot, but then you wouldn't just leave it alone. You'd actually be polishing up all the jaggies. So, if it was, like a flight sim or something, and, you'd get into it and you'd be actually going along all of the edges down at almost a pixel level and just smoothing them all out.
Yep. Oh, wow. Yep.
Learning little techniques around how to make something that was obviously, fake and digital look realistic, and make it look as real as you can, adding.
Oh, that sounds pretty fun.
Which is something I try and erase now, getting rid of these feelings, but all of those little tips and tricks. And so for me, the editing side of things, I mean, I had used it for work a bit as well, doing a bit of web development and whatever, so you you need to resize an image without squashing it up and all the rest of those sorts of things, so make sure you're scaling it properly and everything. I ended up getting Photoshop because it was just easier than trying to use any of the other tools at the time. So
and fair call as well. I mean, I didn't use Photoshop for many years, just because I couldn't be bothered getting my head around it. I would process.
It's a beast
in Lightroom, and that would be it. And it was as I slowly learned a few more things, and then realized I needed certain extra things that Photoshop had, like stacking, focus stacking, and that type of thing. Once I moved into those sort of areas, that's when I realized, I do need Photoshop, and I'm going to need to try and learn how to do a lot of these things. So it's a fun learning curve.
How much time would you spend on editing now per shot?
Per shot. So I'm very, what's the word? I guess I'm very particular about my shots, but I don't know which shot I'm going to use until I kind of see it, in Lightroom. So I usually go around and I'll take about 6 different compositions, or aim for something like that of a place. Unless I'm just going for one direct shot, but usually I'm around and, certain waterfalls that I go to or something, I will run around and get different compositions, different perspectives. And then I think I've got this one shot in my head, and I go straight to that and start editing that, and, get halfway through the whole edits. And then I realize, oh, hang on, this one down here is actually much better than that one.
Done that.
But I reckon, once I find that shot, I then spend a good probably an hour, half an hour to an hour. It sort of depends on what needs to be done with essentially I'll do all of the color grading and everything I need to do in Lightroom. Lens corrections and all of that, and then I'll take it to Photoshop to maybe just polish the image a little bit more. And then I will usually take it back into Lightroom to then edit a slight amount more, maybe a little bit more color grading again. So it's usually a Lightroom, Photoshop, Lightroom process for me.
Interesting.
But like I said, probably half an hour to an hour once I find the shot that I actually want to focus on.
No worries. So what about planning your shoots? So how long would you spend thinking about a place to go before you land there and set up the tripod?
I don't plan anything. I am the worst planner ever. So I've got a good group of friends who are very good at planning things. So Carmel Boyd, who you may know, Tassie Heights is his name on Instagram, or Kale Thompson. We get out and aim for a few sort of photography trips each year, and weekend of it. So I can't get out as much as I'd like to because of I've got a family, 3 young girls, that sort of thing, which keeps me fairly grounded, which is also a good thing for my photography, I think. But when we do get out, we go out and spend a whole weekend and don't get a lot of sleep and that sort of thing, and take a heap of shots. But these guys are very good planners. I'm happy to sit there and go, okay, let's go to this place. Yep, we'll go to that one too. That's cool. And then on location, I have no planning at all. I will just walk around until I see something that looks good, and then I'll take a photo.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm very, very foreground oriented.
You don't visualize where you. I mean, what about places that you've been before and you've got a bit of an idea about what's there? Do you sit there and dream up? Oh well, if I turn up at this time, the Milky Way is going to be right in the right spot.
That's about as much planning as I do. So occasionally, doing a bit of astro, then I'll sort of realize, okay, I need to be here at this time for the Milky Way to be rising just above the horizon. We'll go from there essentially. So yes, that's as far as my planning goes. But I'll sit there and drive to these places, sometimes whether the weather is good or not, because a lot of the times that's my only chance to get to these places, and other days I just can't do it. So a lot of the time it's just, I've got this shot now, I'll do it and see if I can. If I can't, if it fails, then I'll try and take another photo of something else and hope that it works out. So yeah, essentially I'll just get to a location and walk around, and I'll probably, a lot of the time, if it's not nighttime, then I'll be walking around with the camera in live view, just trying to find some foreground interest for setting up the rest of my shot, basically. Fair
enough. So what would be your description of your style?
I like getting a bit experimental. I mean, it's essentially landscape and predominantly long exposure.
Yep.
And yeah, whatever the weather's doing sort of depends on how long the long exposure might be.
Yeah.
And yeah, like I love my natural landscapes, but I don't mind, the cityscapes as well. Hobart's a beautiful place. So we have a lot around us. I'm very fortunate to live in a place called Blackman's Bay. And so I've got a beach 300 meters from my doorstep.
Nice.
And, I can wake up in the morning, look out the window and see, oh, yeah, that's a nice looking sunset. I better run down to the beach. And that's very handy. Or, it's a 15-minute drive just up to town. And I work in town at the hospital. So, I'm aiming to maybe go to the gym in the morning, then jump straight in the car and get up there for sunrise.
Yep.
There's a few nice, city spots around where you can just go down to the wharf and get some nice exposures down there.
Yeah.
But then, also down where I'm in Blackman's Bay, there's about 4 really, really nice, unique spots as well. So, I've got a big blowhole, this huge big cave, and it makes a very nice shot. There's Fossil Cove, which is about 5 minutes away, and that's
nice.
A really nice sort of built rock archway, which is good for astrophotography as well. Actually, I've got a photo of there recently with some bioluminescence in the water as well. So it's
that's really cool seeing that, isn't it? I mean, you see some great videos and photos of it, but when you actually see it for the first time in real life, it blows your mind, doesn't it?
It really does. It's pretty cool. Yeah, and I didn't expect it. I've seen it around the beaches. So not off in Blackman's Bay, but I've seen it at Kingston Beach, which is the next bay, essentially. And I was just down there to take some Milky Way photos. And I was kind of getting ready to go because I thought I was done. But then I just started seeing some flashes in the water. So I thought, oh, hang on, I might actually have to watch this. And then, they just sort of kept coming. But they were very far between as well. So I was sitting there for probably the next 3 hours, just taking shot after shot after shot, just hoping I would get some of these flashes in the image.
Cool.
It took a long time. It wasn't as much bio as you'd sort of see in certain other photos, but it was just enough, this nice little difference, and just give it a really electric blue sort of look to it. So
no, they look fantastic. So Tassie's definitely got some of the best wilderness areas in the world. What is it that draws you out into the wilderness to shoot?
Well, I think I just love getting out. I love getting out with the camera. It is like, I didn't realize it would be as therapeutic as it is, but when I went out with the camera, it's just so relaxing. So I'm happy just to go anywhere. Kind of feel like I'm a kid again, just exploring and that sort of thing. So
cool.
I love that feel of it. There's a lot of freedom to it.
Yeah.
And and like you said, like Tassie, there's just so many places around Tassie. So so many different areas. Like every corner of Tasmania is just completely different to the others, and it's part of its charm, I guess. And so wherever you go, there's always something you can shoot, something new you can find, and something amazing, really. So yeah.
Yeah. Have you ever shot up in places like the Tarkine or?
Yeah, I've been up there a few times, and I haven't been deep into it though. But
Yeah,
I have
pretty rugged
around.
getting in and out.
Yeah,
You've
yeah,
got to be fairly well prepared and
yes. So
ready for a
my
bit of
friends,
discomfort.
yeah. A few of my friends do some really good hikes and big hikes and that sort of
Yeah,
thing. So, as I said before, I'm kind of pretty grounded with the family and that sort of thing. So,
yeah.
that would be one of those things I'd have to plan, a few months in advance. And I'd love to do it one day, but I haven't had a chance to do any of the big, 2 to 3 day hikes as yet.
Yeah.
They're all on the cards though. It's
once the kids get to an age where they can carry the camera gear, you'll be right.
Absolutely. they've been on a few trips and they're not the biggest fans of it. Like, we walk down.
No, this is boring, Dad. This is boring.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like, walking down into Liffey Falls, it's a nice sort of descent all the way down to it. And then they remember that you have to walk back out of there. So, people think, no, I don't want to do this. So, there's been times I've had my camera bag and I've had one kid on each hip carrying them essentially. And it's no fun, but it's fun on the way down. You get some nice family photos of them on the way down and it all looks great.
But you wouldn't swap it for the world though.
Absolutely not. No. But they do complain a bit when it's they're coming back out and all of that. But that's half the fun, I think. So.
Yeah, it's usually on the way back that you start to get the my feet hurt.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I need to be carried. But yeah, so I'll pick and choose the places that I would go and take the kids and the family for that sort of thing. Sure. And then others where obviously you just you do it with a few mates or go solo or something like that. So yeah.
Yeah, I was the same with my girls. So I got 3 girls. The youngest now is 22. So she doesn't carry anyone's camera bag now except her own.
Yep. Good on her.
Yeah. No, but it does make it a little bit difficult, sometimes. But the joy of raising them and everything, that you can't go past it.
Absolutely not. And I think I mentioned it earlier that I'm actually glad that the family has kept me quite grounded with photography as well. Anyway, so. I see, people chasing certain photos and certain locations, and if they don't get the shot they want, they go back again, and then they go back again, and they go back again. Yeah. I have that opportunity, so when we go somewhere, I'm there for the first time, or I've got that one day to be able to go there with the family or something, and that's it. If it's no good, then it's no good, but if it is, then it is. So. Last time I was up at Bay of Fires, it was with the family for a holiday. And that's kind of how a lot of my photography works. It's very opportunistic.
Yeah.
When I can actually get there. So it's, I got some really nice photos of Bay of Fires, and I've got a few shots with the family in those photos as well. So kind of makes it a bit more special and just enjoyable. And, so some of these photos I put out, I can still picture the whole family there, and I've got that memory of that.
Nice.
It's really good.
Yeah, really makes the shots mean something to you, I guess. Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah. So when you've been printing and selling prints and whatever, any tips for people wanting to prep an image for printing?
Well, I had a lot of fun with that, with my screen calibration not being anywhere near what it needed to be. So
that helps.
I learned that pretty quickly. After printing a few, I learned that quite fast. I need my screen to be calibrated to exactly what I see, and that's made the world of difference, essentially. So I had a friend another photographer who had a little calibrator, and he came and basically set it up while we were sitting there having a meal together as well. So got that out of the way, and from then on, I was absolutely fine. So every image that I saw on the screen was exactly what it would look like in print.
Right. Nice.
In saying that, my computer crashed about 8 months ago, and it is now back to being uncorrected. And it's one of those things where you send it to your phone, you look at it and say, no, that's not what it looks like. So then you're doing the back and forth.
Yeah, you keep adjusting. Yeah.
Yes, that's sort of where I was before I originally got it calibrated. And yes, I actually do need to go and get it recalibrated at the moment because I'm sick of doing them again, essentially. But that's all. Like that's all I would really recommend, other than sort of some output sharpening, and make sure you find a good printer, a person that can definitely look after you, or a company that can definitely look after you. So yeah, I've been lucky enough to a couple of photographers recommended one to me, and he's been absolutely amazing.
And he's local in Hobart, or?
Yeah, Hobart Imaging they're called, actually. So
okay, cool.
Yeah, no, and Mark, he's just a lovely bloke. So
yeah, it's always great if you can get someone local to you that knows what they're doing and is happy to sit down and talk through what you need and how to get the best results.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's quite easy with him, and I've not been disappointed. Like I've been printing images for about 4 years now, probably. Yep. So yeah, images, canvases, and calendars. He does my calendars as well. So yeah. Can't say a bad word about them, actually. It's just, great very quality. Good. Yeah.
So we were talking a bit about the social media, earlier, but some people sort of are seeing it as a platform for artists, in the same way as they sort of see, in the past have seen galleries and museums. What's your position on that? Are they the same? Are they for different things?
Are you talking about sort of just as in an Instagram grid or of your own, or are you talking about NFTs?
No, Instagram. So Instagram and or Twitter, because now that a lot of photographers migrating from Insta to Twitter. So
yes, I've seen that actually. Okay, so can you actually just repeat the question so I can get my head around what you?
Yeah, sure. I guess, do you see Instagram and other social media as an equal platform for artists, sort of in the same way as galleries or museums have been, seen as that platform in the past?
I wouldn't exactly say it's equal, but it's social media, so it has a lot of pros, a lot of cons, essentially. I've got friends. A few guys who have sort of just come to Tasmania in the last year or two, and these guys are amazing photographers, but not with much of a large following. So I think the exposure you get with a larger following definitely helps sort of push it along even more.
Yep.
And so what am I trying to say? I guess it doesn't seem equal in the fact that someone could have a following of 20,000 people, whereas this other person can have a following of 2,000 people, and his quality of images is 300% better than this bloke with 20,000. So, and there's also the whole talk of organic followers versus your fake followers and that sort of thing as well.
Buying
those numbers,
thousands of followers for
exactly. Those numbers are just numbers; they're not even people or anything like that, really. So so I mean, I do like, and I do aim to, like when I'm on Instagram or on Facebook, which I use a bit as well. I aim to talk to everyone, reply to everyone, that sort of thing, because I would prefer it to be as organic as possible. It's a platform that you can use, and you can use it quite well for that reason, to sort of, it's networking.
Yeah, I was having a chat with somebody on Twitter actually this morning, and they were asking, a group of people about, tips for marketing themselves online and that sort of thing. And I basically just said, well, engage, and then engage some more. But it's got to be sincere. It's got to be, with people that you respect. I said, really, for me, it's about trying to find a community that you can, talk through, things with, and that are there, with your back, and that are there to support you, and you're supporting them, and, do it in a way that you're not actually there, asking for favors. You're just doing it organically. You because it's a community, because you all have each other's backs. Somebody gets out there with something new or something different, and the community follows along and helps them out. And it for me, yes, you will gain followers through some of that, because obviously building that network, you're going to organically have people turn up. I mean, I was in a space on Twitter a few days ago, and just out of that space, it had about 30 odd people in there. I ended up with 25 new followers. I was following the other 5, and they were already following me. And,
oh wow, there you go. Yep.
And literally my engagement in it, aside from listening, was about 2 or 3 minutes of talking. But it's about, as I say, it's about getting into those like-minded communities and having it, being part of the conversation. To me, that's a really important part of it, because if you're not having conversations about it, you're sort of this little island off on your own, thinking your own thoughts and doing your own thing and trying to promote yourself without any support, and
exactly
that doesn't work.
No, it doesn't. No. Like you said, like sincerity means a lot, and respect means a lot as well. So if you show the person as much respect as you would sort of expect yourself, it just goes from there.
One of the things that I've noticed, particularly in the art world, with galleries and let's say museums, because I doubt, unless this podcast becomes a smash hit success somewhere, I'm ever likely to end up in a museum. Though I'm quite sure my daughters would think that I belong in a museum already. But for me, I've found that a lot of the art world is who you know, and again, it's about those networks that you're able to establish of support, and whether that's, you hear the trope of the, starving artist and all the rest of that, I'm not one of them, but, see that a lot of those artists can't live without some sort of patronage or some, and things like Patreon and whatever kind of start to fill some of those gaps. But, it's more than that. It's the people behind that money that are interested in the art. They're interested in, promoting artists, and they're interested in, getting people's art out there. And I think, a big thing in the art world is that who you know and how you build those networks of support.
Yep, definitely. So I'm not one to promote myself. I don't do it very well, and like I always said, I would never pay for any promotion. So I haven't so far. I have not done any sponsored posts or anything like that. Just tried to do it as organically as possible, and sort of through networking, through meeting. Luckily, there is a very, very good tight knit community of photographers down here, so it does. And also, we have a very good sort of tourism industry. So Discover Tasmania and some of their subsidiaries, like Hobart and Beyond, and Destination Southern Tasmania. A few of those, they do get around the community a fair bit, and we have certain competitions along the way, and they obviously do a lot of features and that sort of thing as well. So through that, I've met a lot of people in that industry, and it's kind of handy to know those people for certain things down the track. So if they know your work quite well, they will come to you and say, this could be good for this sort of campaign, or So it's very handy in that respect. But that's essentially from just from meeting and talking to people and going through that way essentially. So yeah, I yeah, like I said, I don't know how to market myself very well. I mean, I could put myself through a few lessons and that sort of thing, but I also don't really feel the need to at the moment.
Yeah, no, I get that. Yeah. And the thing is, if you are getting, good engagement and organic growth without, pushing yourself, then that's all you need to do. The thing is, if you're happy with where you are, then there's absolutely no need to go pushing yourself any further.
That's true, and I think there's a lot of time to do a lot of things, and I'm in no rush to do a lot of things either. So yeah. I'm happy to let things just sort of roll as they're going, and that's absolutely fine by me. I don't really have much more time to do other things on top of what I'm already doing anyway. And I don't feel the need to even expend the energy on just, focusing on trying to boost sales or anything like that.
Sure.
I'm just happy for whatever happens and if it happens essentially. So, every now and then something pops up and it's that's half the fun, and it's just nice that someone likes your work and wants to use it for something. So
yeah, I think it's different if you want to be, taking the step into being a full-time photographer. I think that's probably a very different space to be in, and you do need that support network, and you do definitely need to be out there pushing yourself every time you're interacting. You've got to be
I know a few people like that as well, and full respect to them, because it sounds like a hard sort of job to do, to keep throwing yourself out there and keep sort of not exactly holding out the hands or anything like that, but you gotta keep yourself that relevant and in these people's faces that you're still going to be used and relevant the whole time.
That's it.
And it'd be tough. But I guess that comes back to me and the family and everything like that. It's nothing I need to really think about or worry about. So
yeah, no worries.
Yeah, which is kind of why I'm very laid back with a lot of things, and I'm happy to just let whatever happens happen.
Yeah, no, I go along with that. So in Instagram, you're a moderator of IG World _global. So tell us a bit about how that came about and what you get up to in that community.
So there used to be there's a couple of old hubs. So I got featured on a few sort of long exposure hubs.
Yep.
Back in, this is probably talking about 2 years ago now.
Yep.
And the bloke who did it was a New Zealand guy called Ricardo Detrand, and he's a lovely guy. But his job sort of situation changed, and he ended up instead of being more into the photography and the Instagram side of things, he ended up jumping on some ships and going from New Zealand to, I think, maybe even Korea, that sort of thing. So he'd spend months on the boat, like at a time. And so his hubs that he had, they basically just stopped. So I sent him a message one day and said, everything okay? And, if there's anything I can do to help, let me know, because I could, help run this one with you if you want, or something like that. And he said, oh, thanks. It's very nice of you. These ones are kind of my baby. And he explained the situation and said, this is why I'm not doing it as much at the moment. But he said, I'd like to keep these ones and maybe sort of come back to them later on once my situation changes again. But he said, but I'm actually a moderator in IG World Global, and I can't really keep up with that anymore. So if you want, you can take my spot. I'll talk to the people behind that. And that's all it was. It was just talking to this guy, sort of a who you know sort of thing. And he said, he put me forward for this IG World Global, which is run by a couple of people in Sweden and really lovely people. And that's, just went from there. So there's certain expectations for working for that sort of hub with that sort of following. They've got over 320,000 followers.
Yep.
It just grows and grows every day. It's crazy.
Yeah, that's right.
But yeah, they're lovely people. They've got a very, very good system. And essentially, we just jump on and find an image that we think will suit the grid and suit the style that they put out.
Yeah, so they've got fairly, I wouldn't say rigid, but fairly, rigid standards, I guess. Rigid's as good a word as any.
Yeah, basically, yeah. We only have the one shape. You can only have the 4x5 large portrait style image. We can't have any landscape styles or anything like that.
Yeah.
No advertising or anything. Or sort of using yourself to boost certain things. But but they're very nice about it as well. So if after about, I think it was like about 10 weeks or something like that, they usually feature one of us as well, so a moderator feature as well. So that comes along every now and then, and it always helps. It's a little bit more exposure, and it's just good fun. It is busy though, like you do have to keep with it. So it's one of those things that I don't mind doing when you have a spare sort of half an hour. So you're expected to then like all of the comments in the post.
Right.
You've got to
so it's about more than just picking a photo and posting it. You got to get into the engagement side as well.
Yeah, you've definitely got to engage in that as well. So we have to comment on everything that we have between each post. So sort of one person, there's about 6 of us, I think, that do it, and there's one person that will post, and then we can't post for 3 hours. Then in the next 3 hours, there's obviously so many images that come up on different hubs that they're affiliated with. Part of what I have to do is go back and like all of those photos as well, comment on all of those photos, congratulate the person who got featured on that other hub as well. And it's kind of how these things roll along. So IG World Global is sort of engaging with a lot of things, and obviously it's too much for one person to do. So when it's shared between so many other people over, so many hours, it actually works out pretty quick and pretty easy. So it's a good, very good. Yeah, and one of the guys who does all the tech behind it as well, he's very, very clever at what he does. So essentially, we find the image we want and we copy the link to that image, and he's got a certain setup that you just paste that link and everything sort of just spills out from there. So the whole caption that you want to use, all the location details.
Yeah, so they've got a set of tools to make it relatively easy to do.
Yeah. So, if this shot has been used before in IG World Global or featured, if this shot is organically or that person's actual shot, so it'll go back and, you have to make sure that you're not putting someone else's photo who's just stolen the photo from someone else anyway. So just ways to figure out is whoever took the shot is definitely being credited for it, essentially.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah.
Okay. So what about the NFT space? Have you taken a look at that yet, or is that still
I've only touched on it. It sounds interesting. It does sound quite interesting. This day and age, you've got your cryptocurrency, and it's it's such a weird space. I mean, it does sound lucrative.
Well, potentially, yeah.
Potentially, yeah, exactly.
I mean, you see people doing, what was it, the Bored Ape Yacht Club or whatever, people buying those for, $500,000 or equivalent in cryptocurrency, So you go, okay, why?
Exactly. It's something that's probably still a little bit beyond me. But at the same time, they say you get into these things early, and if it takes off, then you're sitting pretty well. But I guess you got to be clever about it. You got to know what you're doing. So you got to go in with a level head and make sure you've done all your research. And I wouldn't
go on.
I would not give it a go, but I'd be very apprehensive at the same time. It's just,
there's a lot of talk about the environmental impact. Stories that minting one NFT can be similar to a small town's month's worth of electricity or something. Now I don't know how true or how false that statement is, but
Wow.
it does make me scratch my head a little bit thinking, okay, so why would it be way more expensive than what YouTube's already doing, or Google or Microsoft or Facebook is already doing? And that's the bit that I'm struggling with is show me the difference between those, and if it really is eating that much, carbon footprint, then okay, it's probably not great for the planet. But I'm still struggling with the fact that everyone talking about it is using social media, which is eating up that same carbon footprint.
Exactly. It's a big double-edged sword, isn't it? So you're damned if you don't. But it's I'll probably need to look into it more to actually figure out what is being said. Is it actually what's actually happening, or there's a lot of hearsay with a lot of things as well. Where do you believe? And I don't.
It's a bit like a lot of things at the moment. There's the truth, there's the real truth, and then somebody else's truth.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, you just have to look at the whole COVID situation and the vaccination thing. So it's an absolute dog's breakfast, unfortunately. But
well, I'm trying not to talk about that here as much as possible. But anyway.
Cool.
So, in terms of while we're talking about the environment, obviously you're getting out and about. Have you seen changes in the way that the environment is being seen and being treated as well? I mean, I know looking at some places up here that are popular, you kind of wish they'd never been Instagrammed,
Absolutely. Yep, absolutely. And, we're all part of the problem, basically. But, famous case in Tassie is Secret Falls, essentially. So that little waterfall, this, beautiful little grotto that's sort of situated just before Myrtle Gully Falls in South Hobart. So it's a nice little walk to get to, good for the family as well, and that sort of thing. There's no fencing or anything to stop you from going there. So, a lot of places you go, like Mount Field, you go to Russell Falls, and you go to Horseshoe Falls, and obviously you've got the barriers where you can't really jump over those, but you've got Secret Falls and other little places like that where there's no barriers or anything like that. And people are saying, well, there should be barriers, and maybe there should be, but at the same time, it's one of those kind of a catch-22 type question, because I think any part of Tasmania should be experienced by anyone. I wish people sort of just had a bit more respect for certain places and certain situations. I mean, you pack it in, you pack it out.
I mean, you see that up around the tracks around Cradle Mountain. You see that around Cradle Mountain, the tracks around there, those elevated tracks, the wooden ones over all the heathland and everything there. And I mean, aside from around the car park, I don't, I haven't done a lot of trekking around there, but the bits that I've seen, I didn't see one bit of litter, which was nice. Mind you, this was 20 years ago, so probably it may well have changed since then. I don't know.
No, that's still fairly true. Like, places, they're not being littered so much. It's more the destruction sort of from people coming to these places and probably stepping where they shouldn't be stepping, and climbing they shouldn't be climbing. People break branches, move branches out of the way for this, specific shot that they want, or whatever, or maybe they're just there with friends and jumping on trees and breaking branches that way. So like I was saying with Secret Falls, like, it was a beautiful, lush green place, and I mean, it still is, but over the years that I've been there, I've noticed how less green it is, and how much there's a lot of the moss has disappeared, a lot of the ferns. I got there once and there was a man fern that had been just pulled out of the wall.
Oh, wow.
And was just sitting in the stream of water, like about 2 meters away from the fall. So it would have taken a fair effort for someone to actually get that fern out of the wall, essentially. So I have to wonder what went on there. But so it's that sort of destruction that sort of makes you sad to see what the place was and what the place is becoming. And you can kind of chalk it up to essentially the popularity of social media and people wanting to see these places. So in a way, we do it ourselves. Which
we
is
are
kind
part of the problem.
Yeah. I would absolutely wish that people could just respect the environment, but
I know a lot of the bigger name photographers, they don't put the Nick Page, for example, everywhere he posts is either Middle Earth or Mesa Arch.
That's true. Yeah. So a lot of people are not geotagging these days. Yeah. So, and there's certain things I won't geotag either.
I'm the same. The Opera House, everyone knows where it is and they'll find it.
Exactly. Some are obvious enough that
not going to hurt
it. Yeah. Most are very, very obvious enough that you don't need to, but a lot of them, I'm happy just to sort of geotag it as Hobart, Tasmania, or just Tasmania, or something. Yeah. And you get a lot of people asking in your comments, like, "Where's this? It's amazing. Where is it?" And depending on who it is, I might answer them. I might message them instead and just say, "This is where it is. If you want to get here, this is how you get here." Obviously, respect it when you're going there and that sort of thing. So, you like to think most people do and most people know this already, but a gentle reminder doesn't help either.
No, that's it. What do you see as being the future in terms of social media? Do you see it keeping on, or do you think it? You see a lot of people migrating. With Instagram announcing recently that they were going to move to be more TikTok-like than anything else. Are you thinking about moving? Are you staying put, or just waiting to see what happens?
I'm very, very lazy at heart, so I'm not going anywhere, basically. I'm happy to just sort of watch and wait, see how it goes. I mean, I don't think the whole place is going to clear out and people are going to stop.
No, nor do I.
Photos and all of that. Like it's very ingrained in what Instagram is as well. But yes, obviously they're going to focus on the reels and the TikTok style of things because that's Facebook/Instagram. They roll with what they need to roll with to be the biggest and the best. And so if they're going to go that way, let them go that way, but I don't see everyone just disappearing from Instagram and disappearing from the photo style of Instagram because of that. So it's still the biggest platform there is. People might get a little bit upset about it, but just when it actually starts going south, maybe start to worry about it then. I haven't noticed anything change to me, essentially. So I'm still just enjoying posting photos and talking like a bit of a dickhead in my captions and that sort of thing. And it's, I'm just happy doing that. Like I don't know if it will or not, but I guess it just remains to be seen.
Yeah. Well, I take the opinion that, if it's there, use it. If it stops being there, well, I used to post a lot of stuff on 500 pixels or 500 px. Some years ago, and I think all of these sort of platforms, they kind of go in ebbs and flows, and one of the reasons why I stopped was there used to be really good engagement. You used to get quite a few comments and people talking about a particular shot or whatever if you posted it, and you get the usual great shot, 2 word, 3 word comments and whatever, but occasionally you get somebody actually want to engage in a conversation, which is great. But that all just seemed to dry up a couple of years ago for some reason. And, you'd pay something and it would literally just be crickets, just nothing.
Wow. Yeah, okay.
You get your likes and all that sort of thing, but you just wouldn't have any comments. And it was just kind of, that's just weird,
Is that not attributed to sort of the upsurge with Instagram over the years?
It could be. I mean, they sort of coincided, but I had already sort of started to look around and shift. I mean, there still isn't anything. I was reading an article the other day that there's no real platform for landscape in particular. Landscape format. Instagram being the portrait format. Famously, but there's nowhere where you can actually get your larger scale images sort of shown. I mean, 500px is still there, and I guess you could go there, but I just didn't see the point. If you're not getting any engagement, you can't have a conversation with anybody.
Yeah, that's exactly right. If you're not getting any consumers, then there isn't really much point. So I mean, they brought out Vero a couple of years ago. Supposed to be the Instagram slayer. But there was that actually had some very good ideas, and obviously you could just turn your phone and the landscape would take over the phone, and it looked very good. It was high quality. And for a minute there, I reckon Instagram probably got a little bit worried about it, but then there was a big campaign against it, and very suddenly it was no, everyone's going to jump straight back off Vero and not worry about it. But as Instagram does and Facebook and everything, they take ideas that are very good, like your Snapchat, and then your TikTok sort of thing, and they obviously make their own iterations of it, or they buy them out. So I'm still very, very surprised that no one within Instagram or whatever, they haven't made a way to make landscape photos work, because it's probably the biggest disappointment of Instagram that you put your landscape photo up and you just can't see it very well at all. And wherever I go, I'll aim to take a landscape shot, then I'll take a portrait orientation shot as well. So I'll try and position in the same area and get one of each. And it's just a bummer that you can't really show those ones off as much as you'd want to.
Yeah, no, you can't do them in the same way. I've sort of I found a product or an app called Panorama Crop. I think it's only Android. I'm assuming there's an equivalent for iPhone out there, but I don't know what it is. But what that lets you do is it lets you split it up into, I think, up to 10 shots if you had a really long panorama. So basically the maximum that you can post on Instagram. And what it does, it just slices it up into the 4x5 portrait format so that you can do the carousel and flick through. Plus it also does a nice top and bottom. So if you've got a landscape image, it'll just pop it into the center and then expand it out so that it's a 4x5 full height shot. So I post using that, unless I've taken a portrait format shot, in the first place. And what I'm doing with the stories is I'll post a new announcement saying here's my new shot, but then the next one along in the story is always the turn your phone, here's the full shot with a couple of tags about where it is and what I shot it with.
I do the same sort of thing actually, for just turning your phone, putting in stories, and so you get a good look at it. At least that way you can. I've done a few of the slide panoramas as well. Early on when that sort of started, I jumped on and did a few of those, and I don't mind that format because it's basically the best way you can get your
the only way you can
orientation photo seen on Instagram. So I did do that a few times as well, but then now I've just gone back to being more lazy and just throw up a sort of
fair enough. It doesn't take very long to create it. It's just bang wallop, it creates it for you in Panorama Crop. So that's why I use it. If there wasn't an app like that, I definitely wouldn't be asked, chopping it up in Photoshop or,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
trying to line it up. It's just
and
not
fair
worth
point
it.
too.
I know some people that do that.
Yep. First time I did it, that's what I did because that's what I thought we had to do. So I sort of found how to do that.
Oh, there's always an app.
Bloody hell, this
It's
is
just a matter of finding it.
Yeah.
So what sort of tips have you got for someone just starting out in landscape photography?
Well, I get a lot of people asking me that sort of question, and essentially I tell them go on Google like photography basics. They're all going to say rule of thirds, that type of thing.
Yeah.
And absolutely, that's one of the first things you need to do. Please make sure you keep your horizon straight. That one just kills me every time I see it. Every time my mum posts a photo, it's like not straight at all, and I have to remind her, Mum, that's not how you do it. That's half the fun. I take the piss out of it. But essentially, rule of thirds and foreground for me is what I would tell people to aim for. So, anyone can go down to the beach and take a photo of the nice sky of the morning, and because a lot of the time nature does it for you. You just got these amazing colors and away you go. But if you just add a little bit more interest in the foreground, you've still got this amazing sky. Changes your perspective as well. So, get down low. So you've got this different perspective of what you're looking at. I'll stand there and take a photo sort of from above, from below, from standing, eye level. And just to get a quick idea of what sort of perspective I want to shoot with and what looks good.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's essentially what I would probably recommend. So when I first started taking photos, I had no bloody idea what I was doing and why I was doing it. I just knew every now and then a photo would sort of come out and it would look good. And a lot of the time it was because, I'd inadvertently already applied the rule of thirds and that sort of thing. So, you know what to put in certain thirds to make it aesthetically pleasing to the eye and how it works. So, and, from a left to right sort of perspective.
Yep.
And just how it all works. So, if you go back and look at my older photos, they're all just sort of a dog's breakfast that maybe look nice and clear with a nice lens on there, but there's no sort of thought process behind it.
Yeah.
That sort of came for me later on as I sort of realized a few things and realized why it looks good and, how to make things look better, essentially.
Yeah, no worries. What's the best thing about being a photographer?
I have seen so much more of Tasmania probably in the last 5 years than I have in most of my life. So it is getting out and like realizing the beauty around you. So, I guess I was a little bit ignorant of everything around me up until I started taking photos. Like I knew Tassie was an absolutely beautiful place. And, I've traveled Europe and parts of America as well. And, kind of didn't take in what I probably should have taken in at the time.
Yep.
And, with a camera, I sort of have realized how much beauty there is in just every location that I go to. So I feel like I have actually sort of taken a little bit of it for granted up until recently. But I do enjoy just getting out there into nature and just looking at everything from that perspective and absolutely loving it.
Awesome. Yeah. What's the worst thing about being a photographer?
For me, probably commercially, deadlines. Like I said, I'm lazy. So, every now and then, I don't do it often because I don't always enjoy it, but I do have to, do some shoots for certain businesses or people or that sort of thing. I'm hopeless at keeping to a deadline for that sort of thing because I'm like, yeah, okay, you would probably about 2 or 3 weeks, I'll get all the package of photos out to you and that sort of thing. And then because it's not my, not my job or profession singularly, like I get home from work, the usual 9 to 5 that I have, and then, you're getting dinner ready for the family, then you're getting the ordered for bed, it hits about 8 o'clock, 8:30, and you're like, oh, better get some photos done now. And it's that sort of thing. So some nights I'm just like, nah, I can't be bothered. I just want to sit on the couch and watch some Netflix with the missus, that sort of thing. And then it's another day, and then you realize, oh God, I've still got these photos hanging over my head that I need to do for this person and get these done. So yeah, I shouldn't commit myself to these sort of things as much as I do, but I do. But that's, I guess, why the whole landscape side of things is the whole release for that anyway. Like, I always just feel absolutely relaxed.
Takes the pressure off. Yeah.
Well, that's it. I'm taking photos for myself, and I'm enjoying it. That's why I got into it. And obviously, when you get into it and you sort of acquire a bit of skill with the camera, that's when people want you to do these other things as well. So
yeah, that's it.
Yeah, that's the part I don't enjoy as much, is when I'm sort of doing it for other people. But
you get the usual come and do my wedding for free.
No, well, luckily, yeah, I don't say yes to weddings or anything like that. I don't have the gear for that, and I don't want the pressure of doing that sort of thing.
Yeah, fair enough.
So, I can kind of pick and choose, and sometimes I've probably chosen a few things that I, am not a big fan of doing, but I'll do it for, certain people, or just because, yes. So yeah, and those things are done, which they absolutely help fund, more lens purchases or filter purchases, that sort of thing. So, it still needs to be done.
Absolutely, yeah.
Because, landscape photography, there's not a whole lot of money in it unless you're really putting yourself out there and throwing yourself out and marketing yourself. I do enjoy the print sales and the canvas sales and that sort of thing. But it's usually these other jobs, which is where you get better money.
We're actually making some money out of it.
Yeah, absolutely. So, it's a necessary part of the game, I guess.
Yeah. So if you weren't a photographer, what would you be?
A video game tester, I reckon. If I could sit there and play PlayStation, I'd be quite happy.
Fair enough.
Yeah, no, I mean, probably a lot of things. I'd love to travel the world. I've had a few mates that have, traveled on yachts, working on, big yachts,
nice.
That sort of thing. And, I've seen the photos that they've put up and see that and go, oh, geez, get quite jealous of that sort of thing. It's a fun lifestyle to have. Also, it's a no attachment lifestyle as well. So,
yeah, that's exactly it.
So, yeah,
not conducive to having a family.
No, exactly. So, I'm very happy with where I am with, the whole family life, the whole work life, and the whole photography life. It all sort of just floats around together, and it sort of fits in quite well. And I'm very lucky to have a very supportive wife who, she encourages me to get out and take these photos and go at certain times. Like, there's obviously certain times where I can't do it, and we both know that I can't do it. So I'd be rude if I even asked, essentially. So, yeah. But like I said, she's very, very supportive and happy for me to get out. So, she does sort of, look after the kids. And I'm like, well, cooking dinner at the moment, but that sunset looks pretty good. She's like, okay, off you go, and that sort of thing. So, that pops up every now and then.
My long-suffering wife is very, very similar, but I mean, she occasionally accompanies me on a dawn shoot. Not so much in winter, but certainly in summer, where it's not quite as drastic getting up, and then you can always go for a swim, if we're down at a beach or whatever, But she comes with me waterfall hunting as well, and she quite enjoys that. And I think if you can involve your partner in it, great. Gives you, as I say, somebody else to carry the gear.
Yep, absolutely. And that goes back to me saying before, like, a lot of my photos are opportunistic because I can only take a lot of these photos and go to these locations with the family.
You're there with the family.
So, holidays to Cradle Mountain, holidays to Stanley, holidays to Strawn, or the West Coast, fires, all of that. It's when I can actually go with the family, and then once I'm there, it's like I'm just going to run away and take a couple of photos. Yeah. I'll be back in half an hour, and 3 hours later I come back, and she said, "Yeah, that was a fun half an hour." It's so I guess I do push the envelope a little bit with a few things, but it all works out in the end, I think. So it's.
So you got any horror stories from your photo career?
I actually don't think I do. No, I've been pretty fortunate. I haven't had any falls or anything like that. No, if I'm just trying to think off the top of my head, I really don't think I have any horror stories as yet. So, touch wood. Hopefully I don't have any.
That's good to hear.
Yeah.
You haven't dropped a lens. I mean, everyone drops a filter or whatever, but you haven't dropped a lens or a camera.
No, I did actually. Yeah, no, I dropped a 50mm prime.
Nice.
Not far from home. Actually, that was a bit stupid of me as well. It was back with that was just with the D3100 actually. And I had just a little camera bag where only the camera fits in the bag and basically one lens. So there was an aurora out that night. And usually when there's an aurora, I don't believe there's an aurora until I go and have a quick shot and see it for myself. So I went a nearby point and it's kind of on a bit of a cliff. And so started getting the gear ready and had the wide angle on 2.8, and the 50mm was in my little camera bag, but I didn't zip it up. So
oops.
I put that down and suddenly I can hear it rolling. I've sort of got the torch and I'm just watching this bloody lens just roll off the cliff. And
oh, no.
All I could do was laugh. I just went, well, there goes that. The next day, I saw where it went. So the next day I actually climbed up because it's around near the beach. So I sort of walked around the point and then climbed up where I dropped it, hoping that I would have seen it down near the rocks or up above there, or would have, it might have gotten stuck in a few twigs or a tuft of grass or something like that. So I actually climbed back up the cliff to where I lost it the night before and didn't see it at all. So that just disappeared. So I failed. So that was, had to say goodbye to that one.
Never mind. All right. I think we've been going a bit over an hour, so we should think about wrapping up. I've got one more and the most important questions. Pineapple on pizza.
It's absolutely a crime, mate. Don't do it. I had this conversation 2 nights ago, so with a heap of mates. So where were we? It was a Bucks weekend that I've just been to. So we got a heap of wood-fired pizzas, and one of the guys says to me, he said, do you like pineapple on pizza? I said, no, mate, you don't do that. The Italians would never do that. You're shocked. And and most people agreed. And then so he's writing down the list. We're getting 5 pizzas. And he said, so 2 Hawaiians? And I said, mate, did you just listen to what we were just talking about? Wow.
I'm sure Italians would use pineapple if they grew them.
Probably, actually. Yeah, I mean, listen, I don't hate it, but I would never ever choose it. Essentially, so if there's nothing there except a piece of Hawaiian pizza, I'm still going to eat it. But for the most part, I'm never going to choose that. Yeah, warm pineapple just does not do it for me.
Fair enough. All right. Well, thanks so much for taking the time, Denny. I've really enjoyed this catch up, and it's been fantastic to hear about how you do your thing. Where can people find your work?
So essentially, obviously on Instagram, which most people would know. And I've got a Facebook page as well, which is, essentially just facebook.com/Deni Cupit photography. And I've got a web page, which is just Denny Cupit photography as well, if you Google it, but that's so outdated, it's not funny. So my most up to date is my Facebook and my Instagram, essentially. So, sure. That's where anyone would find me if they need me.
Sounds good.
And always happy to chat to anyone as well. So I do talk to a lot of people with a lot of advice and that sort of thing. And I've met a lot of really, really great people through Instagram. Like a lot of my friends that I have now, I've been talking to them, some of them for years. Some of them I haven't even met yet, and we're meeting soon, or some of them I've only just met in the last week or two, sort of thing. It's that sort of platform where you get on really well with all of these people because you've got a like-minded sort of hobby and passion. So it just goes from there, and it's an awesome platform for that. So back to the social media thing. There's a lot of things that social media doesn't do well, but there's a lot of things that social media does do well.
Does do well, yeah. I totally support that. My experience is very much the same. I've met a lot of great people out of this, and I probably wouldn't be doing this if it wasn't for some of the people that I've met.
Yep, and I agree too. Yep.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks again, mate. It's been fantastic having a chat with you. Thanks again.
Great,
thanks again for listening to Landscape Photography World. Hope you enjoyed the show, and keep listening, because I'll be joined by some great guests in upcoming episodes. You can find my work in this podcast at grantswinburnphotography.com. I'm also on Instagram, Twitter and Facebook. I'm Grant Swinburne. Hope to see you out shooting soon.